really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, what you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Haliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Pacers inbound from forecourt. They have all four of the other players in the backcourt. Inbound will come far side hash mark, Nembhard. The four in the back start inching their way to the timeline. Lopez will challenge the inbound. 3 9/10 to play. Nembhard will get it in. Here comes a three and a foul! A foul! A foul! As Haliburton, floating out of bounds in front of the Milwaukee bench, hits a three and draws a foul.
Sweet baby.
Wow. That was an amazing shot.
Mark Boyle, Eddie Gill right there on the Pacers Radio Network is heard last night here on The Fan. Eddie Gill, by the way, is going to join us here momentarily in what really was not at all a portrait of greatness in basketball from the Pacers, but you get it done. And you get it done in resounding fashion with a buzzer beater and not even a Scott Foster review that took 35 stinking minutes could take away from the enjoyment that you had to get out of that shot. I was there. I know everybody was chomping at the bit to get a win. Everybody was chomping at the bit for some excitement. And everybody, there you go. Impressive. Really, the game itself was not. I was more concerned about the play, like let's say discombobulated too much, right? The up and down play of this team. But you hang around, give yourself an opportunity, and then make it happen late. That kind of wipes the slate clean for the Pacers last night. Again, Eddie Gill is going to join us in a couple of minutes. We'll talk about last night's play. Hat tip to assistant coach Jenny Busick, who is the author of that particular play. You see a lot of teams going to that spread in football looking situation. I do. I think it's badass. I do. When it works. But if you remember, the Pacers did it in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics. Aaron Nesmith had the look. Had a good look that went, I believe, in and out in that game, going back to last year. So we had seen it before, and it absolutely worked last night. Think about it, too. It worked, and then Giannis, not only did he not commit a foul, there's like 2 fouls on that play. He made contact with Haliburton going up, and he didn't give him ample opportunity to land. That was like a multi-foul situation. And Scott Foster, I will say this, not even Scott Foster could suck all the air out of the room and taking stinking forever to look at it. Believe me, though, that does take a little bit away, does it not? I know that ultimately you get it right, and that's what everybody wants, that's what everybody's looking for, but does that not drive you nuts? Scott Foster at the end of the first half, and remember that, the whole Giannis shooting free throw stuff on just a lame-ass foul call. And then justice was served because Giannis missed both free throws. That's justice. See, a lot of people suggest that's the ball don't lie. That's Rasheed Wallace term. I go with justice. We've always said just justice right there. No matter what level you're playing, if you perceive a call to be bad and then whatever happens, for example, most of the time it's at the free throw line. It may be a possession forthcoming, whatever. But let's just say, for example, right now at the free throw line and both free throw attempts are missed, that's justice. And we used justice before ball don't lie was invented. Ball don't lie just sounds better. But the Pacers survive 115-114 And that was a game that they needed. They were going to get the Bucks here again soon, and they just needed a win. 3 straight losses, and again, last night's game was not picturesque by any stretch. I thought Pascal Siakam, and I think he gets lost in the shuffle of that last-second shot and that game winner from Haliburton, and it should not. I thought on both ends he was absolutely fantastic. Offensively, on the glass, he was in charge most of the time, defending Giannis. I thought he was great. Really, I thought everybody else was, shall we say, most of the time pedestrian or below. That's a game where the Bucks are going to look back and say, wow, we went down 10 in the fourth. We fought back, got a lead. That's a game we have to put away. And really, they did most things. The Pacers were the ones, you lose a 10-point advantage. You miss shot after shot, seemingly, down the stretch. Andrew Nembhard had the opportunity with 2 threes and then to go ahead, I think, to forge a lead, and then you get fouled, and you're down 2, and you go 1 of 2 from the free throw line, and that's why they were basically in that situation. Anyway, again, they fought through and they won, but I'm still going to be looking for a much higher level of play. Siakam delivered last night. And everybody else is still searching, but the feel-good is certainly right there with that 115-114 victory over the Bucks, off and running on what is an incredibly busy show for us today. I mentioned Eddie Gill's going to join us coming up in the next couple of minutes from Pacers Radio and TV. Reggie Miller was in the building last night, so that made that moment even more spectacular. It was fantastic. That was Tyrese Haliburton shot making. That was sweet. And then you had to stand around and wait and wait and wait, and you finally get the free throw and you knock that down. But that's what your elite level max out dude does for you. So it was asking me a little bit earlier. So what's the difference here, JMV? Why can this team not play when Haliburton's out of the lineup? And while oftentimes things do work the same, the pace just isn't. And the ball sticks more than it doesn't. Now, defensively and on the board has been a huge problem in the prior 3 games. Make no mistake about it. But the ball has the tendency to stick way too much. Now, it will with Siakam because he's going to work and he's going to get in position, and then he most of the time is going to score. That's a good thing. And I like Andrew Nembhard. And Andrew Nembhard can control things. But Andrew Nembhard is more of a control things off the dribble. He and really nobody else, or at least rarely will you find anybody else in the NBA that's as willing and as an elite level passer as Haliburton is. And he is always going to be out there to get other guys going. Now, I've said this before. You not only have to get other guys going, but you have to maintain. You have to get yourself going, and we kind of wondered if that were going to happen last night. Late with that shot, it did. All right, we got more for you right here on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline from Pacers TV. Pacers Radio had one hell of a night last night, I'm assuming, on that call on the radio with Mark Boyle. Right here, you heard it on the fan. Former NBAer Eddie Gill. That was a great atmosphere. Very much felt like, to me, being there, Eddie, a playoff type of game. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, even to start the game, you knew it had a different feel. It was a different sense of urgency for both teams, and obviously trying to vie for these different playoff spots, and it couldn't be any closer than what they have now. So you knew it would be like that, and certainly the game turned out to be that way. I mean, the lead changes, the amount of lead changes, I think it was 21 different lead changes. For the most part, it stayed within 5 points for the majority of the game. And then, obviously, what an epic ending.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, too. Are we allowed at all? Because I know, as you mentioned, an epic ending, and that's what we want to talk about. But they did put themselves in a situation where they needed the results of that epic ending and the fashion in which Tyrese Haliburton delivered last night. Is there any concern you get up 10, you lose that lead, and a lot of that is lack of execution, especially on the offensive end? And I guess missed shots can't always be equated to lack of execution, but there was a little bit mixed in. Do we focus at all on that, or is it just the end result, Eddie?
No, I mean, in some ways, the things that happened prior to that are bigger than the end result. Now, clearly, when you're thinking about the playoff race, the result is what you want. But certainly, when you look at the bigger picture and how your process is and what you're doing, the game within the game, you want to be able to correct those things. And I'm sure that Rick Carlisle and the staff, they're definitely talking about that. And to your point, there's definitely been some different lulls in the offense in which they go cold, and not only just because of shots aren't going in, but it's also the fluidity of the offense, the ball movement, screen setting, guys standing, maybe get caught up in the dribbling the basketball too much, those types of things. They want to be able to limit those situations and continue to maximize ball movement and pace of play. So certainly lessons to be learned in why you give up a 10-point lead, and then they also gave up an 11-point lead, so they had multiple double-digit leads. And surrendered those, but obviously made the necessary plays down the stretch to win it.
He's Eddie Gill, Pacers TV and radio, back-to-back on the road, Philly and Milwaukee coming up Friday and Saturday. So another matchup and another very important matchup in Milwaukee, certainly coming up on Saturday. We'll get into that in just a second. You mentioned the ball sticking a lot. I know with Siakam, it's going to have to, because he is that good of an offensive player, and that's what he does, and you lean on that. But when there's no Tyrese Haliburton, as much as we all love Andrew Nembhard, and I do, he is more of creating off the dribble. And he's not as willing, or really there are very few as good as Tyrese Haliburton with the basketball, delivering it and getting others going. I think that's one of the missing pieces when Haliburton was out for those 3 games in Atlanta and then again in Chicago on Monday night, is just that elite level passing that kickstarts everybody else. And I know we could talk about defense and the lack of stops and the rebounding and the points in the paint, but offensively is what I want to focus in on. Without Haliburton, I like Nembhard, but it's just not going to be nearly the same. And we have noticed more than anything else, this team offensively, that is a necessity they just can't go without, and that's Haliburton.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 different players for sure, so I won't get caught up into comparing the 2. But yeah, certainly his passing is amongst the best in the entire game, and his ability to find guys when they may or may not think that they're open. He does a great job of getting that done. And it's transition, it's pick and roll, it's half court sets. It's there was one play last night where Thomas Bryant, I don't know if he knew he was open or had a chance to score right at the rim in the second half, and Tyrese Haliburton kind of motioned for him to keep running towards the middle of the rim. He finally looks a pass to him, and Bryant gets the easiest 2 that he's probably made in his career. But it's different plays like that you certainly depend on and rely on when Haliburton's out there on the floor. And when he's not, you got to try to go get it done in a different way from an offensive perspective.
How's this team look to you offensively without him? I mean, what are some of the things that stand out to you? And then you notice defensively they give up a lot, but they also give up a lot with him. But it still seems like just without that important piece offensively, I watch these games, Eddie, and it feels like that has a profound effect on what they do on the defensive end too.
Yeah, I think it's complementary basketball. You got to be able to, if you're struggling in one, the other is probably going to suffer also. Whether it's defensively or offensively, I think at any time you're struggling in one of those, especially in a major way, the other one is going to suffer as well. But definitely, there's because you have other guards out there, they score in different ways, they facilitate in different ways. The fluidity of it just isn't there when he's not out there. He's got one of the most insane assist to turnover ratios going right now. I think it's like 94-9 or something stupid in the last several games. So I mean, he's at an all-time level in terms of finding teammates and putting them in position to score. So you certainly need him out there. But you referenced the defensive component. You know, they're doing a lot to support him and help him in that case too. So there's some give and take. The bottom line is you need them all out there, because we saw what happened when Nembhard wasn't out there as well when he went down with injury. So it's certainly a collective effort. They all do different things to really have a real impact on winning.
It's Eddie Gill from Pacers TV and Radio, the former NBA guards on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So I'm assuming we'll take every day 23-point night from Lopez, an 18-point night from Prince, and then an 18-17 game from Giannis, and feel good about that defensively, because I did feel good about the effort last night.
Yeah, I thought they had a very nice game plan. They executed it in a major way. You know, Damian Lillard didn't really get going until the second half. He had a solid second half, but he's clearly capable of erupting. He only had 2 points at halftime. He did assist the ball well. He did a nice job of finding teammates, but he only had 2 points. And I think the big thing is, and something to be very wary of going into Saturday's game. Obviously, you don't want to jump Philly. You got to go in there and take care of business. But last night, Giannis Antetokounmpo attempted one shot in the fourth quarter, and it was a shot that he probably had 1% to make to win the game, which was, that's definitely not him. He's got one of the highest usage rates in the league, so he will certainly not have that happen in their building on Saturday.
Yeah, I just thought last night that the Pacers were going to take, and Prince kept getting all those wide open step-in looking jump shots that oftentimes he was making. Lopez was making those 8 to 10 footers down there as well, and I thought the Pacers felt good about that because Giannis wasn't going for 60.
Well, yeah, and especially in the first half, you talk about Prince, they were going after Tyrese a little bit because that was the matchup. So they were going after him, and he was showing on screen and rolls, and Prince would slip out of it, and then next thing you know, he's got a wide open three. So I think they did a nice job of slowing him down. I think they actually changed the matchup up in the second half. But the game plan against Giannis, which it always has to be, is crowd the paint, make him see a crowd early, because if he sees just a glimpse of sunlight or daylight, he's going to make someone pay. And I think they limited some of those different possessions to maybe 3 or 4 throughout the game. He had to work for the others. He didn't get to the free throw line a whole heck of a lot. So the game plan was great, and especially coming off of a bad loss in Chicago where they didn't play well at all. It still was a back-to-back capacity and a very must. I called it on air a pre-playoff type game.
Yes.
And we may see a few more of those here before the end of the regular season because 4, 5, and 6 is just so tight.
I feel you. You want to say must win, and believe me, it's okay if you say that on this show because I call Week 1 with the Colts a must win, so it's okay. Yeah. Everybody understands it.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, I mean, it's when you look at some of these games, it definitely turns into that. If you
evaluate the situation, not all situations are the same, Eddie.
No, I agree. If hosting a first round is important to you, certainly these games are turning into must wins, and dealing with Milwaukee. You got to get Saturday too to get the tiebreak. Yeah,
it's Eddie Gill on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Did you think Pascal Siakam was as awesome as I did last night on both ends?
Yeah, I think he's been incredible. I think he is one of the most underrated players in the game, just because he's not a guy who's stepping across half court and letting it go. He's not jumping over everybody in the lane. All those types of things that are that we love to see. But he just knows how to play the game. And you referenced when the ball sticks, he's the only one I'm happy with it sticking with.
Right.
And that's with his back to the basket in the post, surveying the territory, seeing if they're bringing a double team or not, and just let him go to work. Matter of fact, I think when they get into those lulls and they can't score and everybody else is doing whatever they're doing, they need to go find 43 because he will get them back on track, and something's good is going to happen. I've been saying it repeatedly throughout the season, but he keeps proving me right. So when they do have those types of situations, just get him the ball with his back to the basket, particularly on that left box.
That is Eddie Gill with us. So how many people last night are now installing a similar kind of 4 wide is what I'm calling it, design out of bounds play? And I know the Pacers ran that last year in the Eastern Conference. Most of the time when we see that, it's run from out of bounds. but you've seen different variations now, and we know that everybody, not just in the NBA, but everybody's copycat. How many people do you think may be trying to install a variation of that into their repertoire as of right now?
Yeah, countless, countless on every level, high school, collegiately, and in the league, because it causes a lot of disruption and confusion for the defense. Now, obviously, the Bucks knew that they needed to get a three-point shot, so a lot of them were just hovering around a three-point line. But you still got to match up with somebody, and when they do that crossing action, it's certainly hard to communicate in that environment, especially on the road. So yeah, I mean, everyone is pulling that out the hat right now, and and everyone will claim it too.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It's Eddie Gill with us. So you said not to skip Philly. They've been a mess this season. Don't get me wrong. Shout out to our guy, the man with two brains, Pete Dinwiddie, that's still a part of their organization there. But they have been absolutely a mess. You don't want to skip that. But a big weekend coming up too on Saturday night in Milwaukee, once again against the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge trip. I mean, and you're coming off of a less than ideal trip, 3-game trip, prior to this Bucks game. So as important as the Bucks matchup is in terms of what tiebreakers are, that game actually doesn't matter at all if you don't take care of business on Friday, and some of these other games moving forward for sure. And I think the good thing about it is this Atlanta Hawks trip and the Chicago Bulls trip is fresh in their memory. So hopefully there's a certain level of urgency and motivation going into Friday night's game to go in there and take care of business. Because the one thing about this time of year, and I've been in this position as a player, fighting for your life, trying to earn a roster spot, trying to get, a job for the following season, trying to just solidify your position in the NBA. They're going to have a bunch of young guys out there trying to prove their worth and working and playing as hard as they can. And, that's something I wholeheartedly believe is hard work beat talent when talent doesn't work hard. So if you try to go out there and go through the motions, kind of similar to what you did against the Bulls, it can be another embarrassing night. So definitely got to go in there and take care of business and just stay focused. And I think, you have a good opportunity to do it, especially off of, a couple of days rest after that back-to-back.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, yesterday I was at Pivot right across from Gamebridge at the Hyatt House and met a friend of yours named Michelle that's a big-time listener to the show and loves it when her friend Eddie Gill comes on the show. So I felt compelled also to tell you that. So not only are you awesome in your analysis on this show, but you're also bringing more listeners to this show. So telling you, I may have to put you on the payroll here shortly.
Oh, that's pretty funny. No, her company helps my wife's event out year over year. Her and her partner have been great to us. So
awesome.
Yeah, grateful for what they've been able to do.
Yeah, it was fantastic too yesterday. That's first thing. Eddie Gill, and I said, "Yep, we're going to get Eddie Gill on tomorrow. We're going to talk this up right here." But yes, hey, one at a time, one listener at a time. You're working for me, man. I can't appreciate you any more than that.
No, absolutely. And I appreciate you guys having me on. You probably had a nice setup over there. It was a nice day and everything.
Let me tell you, there's, to me, not a better place around, outside, hanging out space as that second floor balcony at Pivot right across from Gamebridge. I mean, you can't beat it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, especially, as you get closer and closer to the playoffs and thinking about maybe, Saturday or Sunday afternoon playoff game, going there before it, not bad.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. We'll do it again soon, Eddie. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
It's Eddie Gill right there, Pacers TV, Pacers Radio, the former NBA guards on the Indy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So he has IU, and I thought IU would be higher than this. IU, Baylor, Ohio State, and Xavier as the last four in right now. The first four out, one of those teams playing right now is Carolina. They're up 18 over Notre Dame in the ACC tournament. Carolina, Texas, Dayton as a part of that. The next four out there, Boise State, Colorado State, Wake Forest. But I was kind of surprised that IU still on that last four in line. Mike DeCourcy has that bracketology. And we'll talk to Mike, talk about some of the situations ongoing today that IU fans need to root for. And that matchup, obviously, win, and then you're solidified tomorrow at noon against Oregon in the Big Ten Conference Tournament, which is officially underway today. Northwestern, Minnesota, Iowa, Ohio State, USC, and Rutgers on the schedule. At Gainbridge Fieldhouse, we'll keep you updated, but Mike DeCourcy is going to join us about that and more bracketology-wise. That is on the other side. Pantera Offspring tickets to give away. Kevin Bowen, top of the hour. I'm not going to forget about it all. Colts free agency, Daniel Jones. A little bit more conversation with you and I on that coming up. And the head coach of the Boilermakers after 5, a conversation you will not want to miss. Matt Painter joins us right here after 5 as they await the winner of tonight's game with USC and Rutgers coming up tomorrow at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Matt Painter joins us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. The stream, the app, HD Radio. You can find us inside the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Ride with JMV.
If somebody gets in your face and calls you a I want you to be nice.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
And Gil a moment ago, podcast 1075thefan.com. Pacers off a couple days. Back-to-back Friday, Saturday, Philly and Milwaukee again. The Haliburton shot last night was something. Colts free agency discussion. Kevin Bowen, top of the hour. Head coach of the Boilermakers, Matt Painter, is going to be here after 5. If you miss both, Michigan head coach Dusty May yesterday and Tom Crean, the former Hoosier boss from ESPN podcast, you can find with each. 1075thefan.com. 3 games of the Big Ten Conference Tournament coming at you today, and then back at it at noon with IU and Oregon, beginning things in the afternoon session tomorrow. Meantime, on that and more on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, you can find him at TSN Mike on X from the Big Ten Network. Also, his bracketology forecast with Mike DeCourcy on Fox College Hoops. Sure, he's a Steeler fan, but we invite him on the show anyway. Mike DeCourcy joins us now. Hello, Mike. How are you?
JMV, how are you?
Well, I'm excited that you're going to get Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, please don't say that.
Your favorite team. Your favorite team.
You might speak it into existence, so please try not to say that.
Well, we'll steer clear from that right here. Listen, I'm very novice at this. Obviously, I watch, you analyze, you do the numbers, run all that. I thought IU would be a little bit higher than a part of the last 4 in. Explain that, and is it just as cut and dry as you win tomorrow and you're in, but maybe some other things, especially Mike today, that may have a more than profound effect on that standing for the Hoosiers going into tomorrow?
Well, I think the one thing that needs to be remembered about where this season is that a year ago there were 5 of what our friend Jerry Palm first termed bid steals. And that is teams that were not supposed to make the NCAA tournament who get in and then take a bid away from the field. We had 5 of those last year, including NC State in the ACC, which was the most notable because we almost never get bid steals from major conferences. And then you had one with UAB winning the American, and so Florida Atlantic was going to get in with Dusty still coaching there, et cetera. So we don't have, to this point, we have none of those. We had a potential one possibly if Drake had lost on Sunday in the Missouri Valley final. They didn't. We had a potential one last night if someone other than Gonzaga and St. Mary's had won the West Coast Conference. They played for the final. As soon as their matchup was basically set, then that bid steal went away. And we don't have a lot of those out there. So I suppose Carolina could come and take a run through the ACC tournament, and maybe somebody else knocks off Duke for them, or maybe they knock off Duke, and then they get it. That's still plausible, I guess. But for the most part, the field's going to stay about the size it is. So if your scenario were to come true and the Hoosiers were able to beat a team with Oregon's quality in their resume, I think they'd be pretty safe.
And coming up tomorrow at noon, by the way, at Gainbridge Fieldhouse from the Big Ten Network. And you can check out his work and his bracketology and then some at Fox College Hoops at CBB on Fox right now. His latest bracketology stuff is up there. So what do you think about the matchup in general? You go back a couple of weeks, and again, it's been an issue all season long, Mike, with IU, the inability to close, and we saw that in Eugene the last time these two teams met. What about this matchup going in at noon tomorrow at Gainbridge Fieldhouse?
I agree. They have had many occasions when they did not close well, but I think that was really more an occasion of a really good team they were playing at home. Indiana was toward the end of a 2-game road trip out to the West Coast, and I think they just, although they certainly have a fair amount of depth, I think they kind of ran out of juice. I don't know that they were tired, but it takes a lot. It takes a great effort to beat a team as good as Oregon on their home floor, and you probably needed to put them down farther earlier to feel like you were going to win that game. So I don't compare that really in the same sense as what we saw in the Maryland game, where there's a game they should have won, or the Purdue road game, a game they could have won by making better decisions in the final seconds. Those are different deals, They showed on Saturday in the Ohio State game, a game in which they kind of dominated the end of the game, because if they hadn't, they would have taken an L there and they'd really be in jeopardy. So I think it's really about going in tomorrow, playing to their strengths. The Leal Galloway backcourt has been terrific, and for a while they kind of had to put Mackenzie Mbako aside in order to make that happen. And now they've been able to do it with Mbako back to contributing. It wasn't a brilliant game at Oregon, but he had 8 points and 2 threes, and I thought he was pretty good for moments in the Ohio State game as well. So I think that they're in better shape now than they were a couple of weeks ago when they turned the season with that switch to Leal being such a prominent player.
So Mike DeCourcy's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. How do you think, or what do you think of the situation Scott Dolson's handling with the transition? And they're trying to make this as, shall I say, as tactfully put as possible with Mike Woodson, somebody that was a star while he was playing at IU that obviously hasn't gone well to this point. Do you like the way that they're handling it? And then who do you think ultimately they're going to end up to take over for Mike Woodson in Bloomington?
You're doing a daily radio show every day in the biggest city in the state. I mean, I don't think I need to tell you that something needed to happen at some point, and that was probably good timing with Dusty May on the way. There would have been a lot of distraction. It would have taken a lot away from any chance the Hoosiers had to excel in that game, because there would have been so much around the game about Dusty returning while the program was struggling, the team was struggling. And so I thought that the decision to make a move at that point was the right one, and I thought it was handled as well as it could be handled. How it is executed once the decision is made is kind of up to the subject of the decision, and I don't think it's been as bad as it could be. I don't think it's been as smooth as it could be.
Yeah.
But as far as the basketball, it's been better than anyone could have imagined.
Yeah. I mean, well, for IU fans that obviously wanted the change, you're on the verge of getting what you want out of this, a new head coach, but also having a role in the NCAA tournament. So I've described it as kind of having your cake and eating it too to a lot of IU fans out there. So
yeah, and the great frosting on top of that cake would be as if they hired an excellent coach, and they certainly are in position to do that. It may not be the fantasy coach, the Brad Stevens, that so many people presented when the opening happened. I did not present that. I knew that wasn't going to happen. I knew Dusty May was going to get a contract extension. I don't deal in these things that I know aren't going to happen. I deal in reality. I presented TJ Otzelberger as a possibility. I don't know if that's ultimately what he will want. But that was the best choice that they could get. Now, whether that happens or not, I don't know. But there are others that are out there. I put Chris Collins from Northwestern in my article about the likely list, and I got a lot of pushback on that. And I think that this is where Indiana basketball fans, who I know to be extremely knowledgeable, have to look past just the surface and look at what Chris has done at the most difficult historically to succeed high major program. They had never made the NCAA tournament from 39, when the final was actually on their campus, but they weren't in it, to 2016. They made no NCAA tournaments. They've made 3 since. That's an astonishing achievement, and Chris Collins was behind that.
So Mike DeCourcy with us. Before I let you go, a couple of thoughts on the Boilermakers. They await either Rutgers or USC. I'm going to talk to Matt coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. And obviously some things we'll bring up was at Illinois, for example, the inability to get stops, which haunted them at the end of that game and that loss for Illinois. This is where they're playing on this Thursday, uncharted territory in recent history. But could this team refine itself and be consistent and then get on a bit of a run with Matt at the helm coming up here in this tournament and then going on to the NCAA tournament?
You're right that they didn't get stops, but the problem that they had was it's a team that kind of knows that they're going to struggle to get stops. The other team's going to have to miss a shot. They have to be involved in the missing of the shot, but they're not going to be out there swatting shots into the fourth row. That's not who they are. So they have to be better technically, but they're playing a team that specializes in that particular game, the Illinois game. They're playing a team that specializes in individual one-on-one creation of shots. With Yakachonis, with Will Riley, they're going to get opportunities. And so you have to do better on your end. And I thought there were a couple of chances that they had where they didn't execute at Purdue level, and that's what got them beat. Because they played that game, gosh, they were the better team for like 38 minutes of it. But the last minute of the first half or so, the last minute of the second half or so, they weren't what they need to be with the basketball in their hands. I think in terms of them getting on a roll, it really comes down to matchups and trying to avoid teams that have that one-on-one ability that at the level that Illinois has. Teams that are more system teams, they can do very well against those teams because they can keep those teams out of the lane by executing their own defense, and then the Purdue offense, when it's at its best, can be fantastic.
It's Mike DeCourcy. You going to be down there coming up here?
I will be there. I will be there on Friday.
On Friday. Well, I'll look for you. I'm going to go watch a little bit tomorrow. We should mention Northwestern, Minnesota underway with Northwestern a 13-12 early advantage over the Golden Gophers. I know Brooks Barnheiser very well, and just a big fan. I've known him since he was basically born because I know his dad very well. And there's no bigger bummer in this season than Brooks going down for the season at Northwestern because obviously there's just not anything close to what they could have been if he were along for the ride.
Yeah, Brooks is one of my favorite players in the league. I really, in the middle of the year, before the injury started to take his steam away and then ultimately ended his year, I would have debates or conversations with Rafael Davis around the BTN about I thought Brooks was a candidate for Player of the Year in the league. I thought he was that good and that complete a player, and it's a true shame that he wasn't able to complete his college career in the way he had earned.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Mike DeCourcy, check him out coming up on Friday. He'll be down there at the Big Ten tournament, Cambridge Fieldhouse, and check out his work with Fox and the Bracketology, Big Ten Network, and all that as well. Even though he's a Steeler fan, we enjoy having him on this show on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. All right, have a great week and a great month of March remaining here with all this college basketball. We'll check in again soon.
Thanks, JMV. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Mike DeCourcy on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I want to see like Brooks and Braden play one-on-one because just two dudes that go at it at the highest level of playing hard. Like we say play hard all the time. I play hard. I do this hard. And then you see that and you know that you don't. There's just different levels of it. You may do it in your mind, but not like that, if that makes sense. Keep track of this game ongoing. 3 in all today at Cambridge Fieldhouse. Updates on the other side, Notre Dame and Carolina in the ACC second round starting the second half of play in Charlotte. We'll get to that. And Kevin Bowen speaking of the Fighting Irish, top of the hour. Colts free agency. And Daniel Jones, is he the dude? Which he isn't, but I'm going to go ahead and phrase it that way to Kev anyway. Top of the hour. Matt Painter joins us after 5. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Ding dong.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Mike DeCourcy a little bit earlier. Podcast 1075thefan.com. Big Ten Conference Tournament officially underway. No, the Western 15-13 over Minnesota, under 10 in the first half of play down at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Tomorrow at noon, yes, indeed, that is IU and Oregon. And I guess, considering everybody's bracketology right now, I just assumed that IU was going to be locked and loaded. But it does not appear with DeCourcy, with Lenardi, that is the case. We shall see. Big East Conference Tournament. Butler has not had a fun season. Ask any Butler Bulldog fan. The 9 seed in the Big East and the 8 seed Providence, they are just about set to get underway. About 6 minutes or so from tip in the first round of the Big East tournament. The winner gets the 1 seed St. John's. See if that modest crew can push at least for one more game with this dog squad in what has been a very forgettable season, both in and out of Hinkle Fieldhouse for the Hoops program this year. No doubt about that. All right, Matt Painter, head coach of the Boilermakers, coming up after 5. You will not want to miss that. And Kevin Bowens on the other side will take him away from watching his team, Notre Dame, take a beating by Carolina right now in the ACC second round. In Charlotte, we'll talk Colts and just how close this so-called competition is, how meaningful this so-called quarterback competition is. That and the work that Chris Ballard and the Colts have done so far. Colts conversation, some Pacers thrown in there as well. That is coming up. Don't go anywhere. The AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Mr. Falcon. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Eddie Gill on the Haliburton shot, the game winner, and the win over the Bucks last night. And getting you set for a Friday, Saturday on the road in Philly and Milwaukee once again. Eddie Gill a little bit earlier, Mike DeCourcy, Big Ten Network, Fox, bracketologist, talked about IU and the significance of that matchup against the Ducks of Oregon tomorrow at noon. Mike DeCourcy podcast, 1075thefan.com. Dusty May from yesterday, Tom Crean from yesterday. That podcast at 1075thefan.com. And Boilermaker head coach, they await the winner of USC and Rutgers, the final of 3 at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in the first round of the Big Ten Conference Tournament. That, with Matt, is coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. So Matt Painter right here in the 5 o'clock hour. Meantime, of the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, I feel like I've left some things out as we bring on board our good friend Kevin Bowen of the morning show, along with James Boyd and Jeff Rickard. Kevin Bowen joins us now, and at least I can take you away from this beating that Carolina is giving your Fighting Irish in hoop right now.
Beat down for sure. Yeah, probably good time to put the old nail in the coffin on a disappointing season. So, yeah.
How disappointing in terms of, and I know when you play like this and you look like this and your record is an indicator is disappointing, but how much better do you think or expect that group to be this season?
I mean, definitely better. Their best player, Marcus Burton, went down early in the year, missed about, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 games. And I thought that definitely they won at Georgetown early in the year by like 20. And I was like, oh, wow, maybe something could happen. But they lost to some joke of a school, even when they were already healthy, in the non-conference. And I just feel like the ACC is, right there for anybody. I mean, it's so bad this year. So I think they end up winning 8 maybe conference games, 8 and 12. I mean, I would have liked, if you would have told me the ACC is this bad, I would have liked for that to be a little bit better. I mean, they certainly had some injuries. You can't ignore that. And, Michael Shrewsbury's trying to do things different. He's trying to mainly build it through high school recruiting, which I'm open to. I don't think Notre Dame's robust with some NIL that's, rivaling SEC football programs. So, you got to, I think, zag a little bit, and they're bringing in a great class next year, so hopefully they'll reap those benefits pretty early on.
Kev, I'm going to ask you this because we do differ in age. There's no doubt about that, and I think I come across sometimes, or at least people describe me as such, as being a crusty old 55-year-old fart with some of my my takes. But I'll give you this. It seems like those that are pro and will go all the way to the end with Anthony Richardson and a belief in something that, simply put, we have not seen, would be of the much younger generation than I. Have you noticed that as well? Because it's weird to me. It's that way. Maybe it's just the video game era. They think he's a video game and he's not. Just kind of curious, because with the evidence and the results we have seen, you would think that they wouldn't be so hardcore, yet the younger generation of those that will go all the way to the end to defend him is amazing, and that's normally where I think the age bracket lies.
Wow, that's like one of the more deeper questions you've
weird.
ever asked.
It's almost like I'm not even like there's no marijuana or anything involved right here. This is just me.
I know, like it's March 12th, not April 20th.
Exactly.
But, I guess we're 15 minutes away from 420. Yeah, I mean, when you started to lay it out, I guess I would probably agree. I would feel like if I did a poll of like, state what age you are, it probably would be a little bit of the younger age group.
What would that be?
Well, I do think, and again, this would be even younger than me because, I grew up in more of a, Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger, Rivers type era. But I think the younger age group has grown up in more of the dual threat quarterback. If you want to get like uber technical into this. So I would say probably there would speak to some of it. There's probably a little bit more fascination with the highlight of the younger generation, and Richardson certainly has had some of those moments. I think that's without question. I do think one area that we probably ignore with Richardson, and I say we, I would say like me, I mean, my hand is raised, and some others at times, is we do get like so fixated on him as a thrower, we do forget like he does bring a run element, which at the end of the day matters. I mean, I don't think win-loss record is necessarily like gospel to a quarterback, but it is kind of weird that Richardson is 8-7 as a starting quarterback. Like we talk about him like he's 2-13 as a starting quarterback, not 8-7, and that is when you fired your defensive coordinator. So you would think that the defense has been an issue as well. So why? Okay, well, again, he does bring a little bit more to the table as a runner than just shows up in a completion percentage, box score, or passer rating, or those sorts of numbers. So, yeah, I hadn't given that question much thought, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But those would probably be some answers that I would throw out there.
Is he not like Skinamax or the Spice Channel, where he gives you that ultimate tease but never really delivers the goods?
I could see that. I mean, it's just a lack of consistency, certainly, and I don't know. At times, like he, if you want to take it down that road, he does go all the way, but he just doesn't really
the other way.
Look at this deep ball to Alec Pierce, or look at 4th and goal against the Patriots or the Jets. Like, there are those moments where, certainly he has shown it, but, again, over the course of 17 games, his availability and his ability haven't been consistent enough. Like, frankly, I just don't think he's boring enough, if I'm going to be totally honest. Like, that's probably the way I would describe it. Like, he just doesn't hit enough singles and doubles. And, I think we've made the baseball analogy with him often. Like, to me, I look at him and think like more of an Adam Dunn sense, John, to think back to our Reds fandom of like, I mean, he hits some home runs, but you cannot strike out at the level that he did. And this year, he struck out not only from he struck out probably in 3 or 4 different areas. Completion percentage, turnovers. Like, I don't think that got talked about enough maybe. Like, that turnover number, like, you could live with 55%, 58%, but you can't live with turning it over like he did. And then, obviously, availability and off the field. He struck out as well. So, add up all of it. And I guess to go back to the previous question, I don't know, maybe an older generation, probably more of a work ethic means a whole lot, where, I don't know, maybe younger, it's like, let's just overlook that. We don't really, and that might be totally.
What if some of the younger generation are just jackasses? Maybe that's it, too. Could that be it?
I don't know if I'm going there, because, frankly, I think we need those listeners.
No, well, listen, it's like there's some jackasses in my generation, too, don't get me wrong. But it just kind of seems like there's not – is there enough to grasp to be that dedicated in defense? And I guess, Kev, we can go both ways with this question. Is there enough to grasp to go all the way to the end in your dedication in supporting and defending him? Is there enough to grasp to where we just be like me and say after 2 years you should have gone ahead and wiped the slate clean and started again?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a ton of, gray area between he's a bust, go trade him for a bag of Doritos, and this dude is a future Hall of Famer. Yeah. How dare you give up on him? I've probably, I don't know, I probably did this late April 2023. I think Chris Ballard did. I think Jim Irsay did. I probably resigned myself to the fact of, he's getting 3 years. Whether you like it or not, he's going to get 3 years. And when he had the shoulder injury and he missed as much of that rookie season as he did, and then he missed, obviously, a chunk of last year's offseason, then I was like, oh, for sure, he will at least get that 2025 season. And, I mean, there's part of me that's like, if you draft a dude in the top 5, I mean, you probably should give them at least one healthy NFL offseason. I don't think that is that egregious of a thought, especially when the alternatives are what's presented to you, here at Daniel Jones. Now I get someone that might counter to that and say, hey, as soon as you know it's not it, see ya. Move on. And, there aren't a ton of teams, but, whatever. Buffalo drafted E.J. Manuel, and then how many years later did they take Josh Allen? I mean, that was a pretty close window that they drafted another quarterback in round 1. So, I mean, I don't know if, hell, I guess we'll find out in a month and a half. I don't know, would Trader Sanders at 14 or trading up or, I don't envision that, but I get that there's some people that would say, hey, once you find out, because there's no financial commitment to him next year. I mean, there's none of that, in a significant manner. The only thing that you're doing is either committing reps to him or Daniel Jones. And when people hear that out loud, they might puke at both of those options. But that's the reality of where you're at right now.
So Kevin Bowen, morning show, along with James Boyd and Jeff Rickard, 7 until 10 a.m. weekday mornings here on The Fan. And Kev's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So how legitimate do you believe this whole competition thing to be? Now, you can look at it two different ways. I don't completely buy into it like everybody else does. I think it's going to be Richardson, and if it's not, this is going to be more of the fiasco level stuff that we've grown accustomed to around here in recent memory. I would also ask you, is this kind of like when you had Flacco and, you benched Richardson during the season for what you thought and what you said was a reason, but the bigger reason was in those couple of games you thought Flacco gave you the better opportunity to win those games at quarterback. So it wasn't all true. Where's the truth lie as far as this competition thing is concerned with the Colts?
Yeah, I still probably in the camp of I'll believe it when I see it. I know a lot of people were struck by the $14 million contract and thought that sent, quite the strong message. I don't necessarily believe it to that extent. I think what makes this difficult is, unlike Flacco, John, Daniel Jones needs work. Like, Flacco, you kind of knew what you were getting. I mean, he's 39. We've seen him play in the league for how many years? You knew exactly what you're getting with Flacco. And for the most part, we saw that play out when he played in games. In this case, your backup quarterback, he needs as much work as your starting quarterback, based off, the Daniel Jones career path. So, how do you handle that? Who gets these reps that, they deserve? And then how do you treat those reps? Is it hey, yeah, we got to have growing pains and we got to live with, here's Anthony Richardson, drilling new fundamentals. It might look ugly in May, but, you're going to benefit from it, whatever, in August or September. Are you really going to commit to that? And, again, the same thing I think could apply to Daniel Jones too. So I'll be very curious to see how that plays out. Are you really going to split these reps? I mean, is it really going to be, all right, here's Richardson's day, here's Jones's day? Boy, I just think you keep two mediocre to bad quarterbacks in that same camp. If you do that, I get that takes away from a competition, but again, you've kind of made your bet at this point. The other thing I'm and again, some people can say this about Richardson, but Daniel Jones has started 70 games in the NFL. 70. I mean, isn't he who he is? Richardson started 15. Can you imagine living through 55 more starts of Anthony Richardson? I mean, so that's where I don't, for those that are you got to, start Jones and this is going to be Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. I don't know if I see that. Frankly,
that means they know what they know in Richardson. They feel they know what to expect in Richardson? Is that saying that to a degree in how you just phrased that?
That's the unknown. It's, do you believe in a healthy offseason for Richardson or not? I mean, do you think that A, he deserves it, and B, he can make any sort of tangible changes? Because if you do, then you ran it back with this regime for a reason. Okay, just play it out. And if the answer is as ugly as it has been the first 2 years, what do you do? Rip it all off and, Arch Manning and whatever. And hell, hire Steve Sarkisian next year, and Arch Manning can be the quarterback. That's what you could do. So that's where, what happens in May and June and certainly July and August. What does it look like? Are these guys going to play actual preseason snaps, real stuff in the preseason? Richardson without a red jersey and with a red jersey is two very different players. So that's where I look at it from a rep standpoint. And it's yeah, in a nice world, you would have a competition here, but both these guys need the reps. Whereas, for a guy like Flacco, you knew what you were getting. Even Minshew, I felt for the most part, you knew what you were getting. Daniel Jones, I just feel maybe you do, maybe you just know he's bad, but I would argue he played his worst football most recently in New York. So doesn't he need real change after, not playing, of course, when he went over Minnesota last year?
So Kevin Bowen, again, in the morning, James Boyd, along with Jeff Rickard, the morning show here on The Fan, 7 until 10 a.m. Cavs on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So, size up Ward and Bonham in that secondary. Did the Colts get done in day number 1 of free agency what they at the top of the list needed to get done? Now, again, we'll find out once they take the field, but at least on paper right now, did they do the job?
Yeah, I think it was an attempt at it. I don't want to speak in hyperbole here. I don't act like either of these guys are, first-out Hall of Famers, but, certainly I think they are, above average, reliable defensive backs that have played on legit defenses that have, and especially in Ward's case, that have played, championship football. I mean, Tarvarius Ward has played 17 playoff games in his career. I mean, imagine how many years back you have to go for the last time the Colts, had 17 playoff games in their franchise. So I think all of that you have to like. I think in both cases, in different ways, they've had to earn their spots in the NFL. I think that's important to kind of send that message. Ward undrafted, Bynum was a 4th-round pick in the very, next draft after Minnesota took him. They drafted a safety in round 1, and yet he beat that safety out. So I think that all of that, considering what was available in free agency, considering their ages too, like I don't think this is Mike Mitchell or Dwight Lowry or Rodney McLeod, some of these like older stopgap safeties that have only been 1 year and out. I think given their ages, they both have the ability to do this for, multiple years for you, which is important with the new defensive coordinator as well. So, I thought secondary with a new defensive coordinator, maybe blitzing more, different coverages. You got to trust guys more than you did in years past. The easy completions have been way too much of an issue. You haven't beaten a meaningful quarterback in over a year. So you add up all that, and I thought those swings in free agency were, especially in the secondary, weren't necessary.
Loss of Dio, the loss of Kelly and Fries, it all kind of made sense to me. I thought, at least on the offensive line, Kev, that it was going to be like one or the other there. Braden Smith restructured, and then Fries was going to end up with that market being priced out of the situation here. And then we knew all along the writing was on the wall regarding Bortolini and Kelly. So it all kind of makes sense, does it not?
Yeah, I thought Fries had just, he just got into that price tag level that you just can't be paying one guard $22 million and the other guard $17 million. I don't think building a football roster works in that manner.
You think Chris Ballard went through convulsions of making himself not do that at all? Did he fight it?
Ed Dodds is like bringing the strength coaches in to hold Ballard down so he doesn't.
Ballard's all tweaking over there, going, "Oh, I've got to do it." But go ahead.
I do think the Adangbo one, I'll be interested to see what else they do defensive line, or I guess what, if any, they do defensive line, because he did play the most snaps for you in the D-line last year. He hasn't missed a game in 3 years. I don't think there's a lot of reliability on that D-line health-wise. Certainly on the edges, like Samson Ebicom's coming off a torn Achilles. And so I do think they could use another, somewhat notable addition there to rotate into a position group that you obviously rotate a whole lot. But again, some of this just comes down to math a little bit. And, to me, the secondary was that position group that had the most holes presently and long-term. Other position groups, pretty much not named tight end. I think tight end you can obviously throw very high up there. But outside of tight end, I think for the most part, the question marks are not as glaring as they are in the secondary, especially when you play in this AFC. Again, look at the quarterback schedule you face next season and just look at the AFC quarterbacks in general. You want to make sure that you are, as sure as you can be in the back end. And so I thought kind of allocating more resources there based off just all in on the trenches of first and second and third round picks and big money. Certainly you want to be good up there, and it's important to invest something, but I thought at times it just went over the top.
All right, kind of buried the lead a little bit with Kevin Bowen right here. Last night was something. I thought it was a playoff atmosphere. It was a grinder of the game. I thought the Pacers didn't play very well. I thought Siakam was awesome. But, man, what a play drawn up, and what a shot, and what an ending, which was entirely necessary for this Pacers team at Gainbridge Fieldhouse last night.
Yeah, easily one of the cooler moments in the regular season that building's ever, seen. And just when you add it all up, you add up the opponent, you add up the magnitude of the game, somewhat late in the season, Reggie's courtside. I don't make as big of a deal about it as some others, but a lot of people make a big deal out of the national TV. And, when this team has been on it, it hasn't really gone very well. Haliburton, he's admitted this before. He's like, I didn't really win a lot in college. I didn't win in Sacramento. I mean, he didn't win right away here in Indiana. I would assume he puts that shot right up there with any other in his career. I mean, hell, probably the Milwaukee one last year is number one on the list, but I would assume, last night's got to be pretty close to be second, if not, definitely second on that list. So just all of it, over Giannis, and he had missed 3 games. I didn't think he had shot it particularly well, and I don't really think the Pacers shot it. I mean, obviously Nemhard deserves to, you probably should be hugging Tyrese Haliburton like none other for kind of bailing him out. But, you add up all of that. Just what a great scene. And the fact that it's the month of March and it's a lone home game in a 7-game stretch, it had a little bit of a Hollywood feel to it. So, great moment. And I think it kind of takes away from, what Siakam did, what Nemhard didn't do. I mean, Giannis in the fourth quarter doesn't score. I mean, that's shocking.
I don't think he took one shot, and that was that desperation shot, right?
Right. It just kind of buries all of those other storylines. And really, it buries a little bit of the Haliburton one of like, it's just amazing how different the mood can be with that one play. I mean, we had Rick on yesterday, and obviously he wasn't in the greatest mood in the world. And, I mean, you could be losing 4 in a row and 2 back of Milwaukee and lose the head-to-head tiebreaker, and now you're on the road for 3 straight, and you're probably talking a little bit more about Nemhard and even Haliburton of like, okay, how do you handle the hip moving forward? And just one shot can either silence those or certainly sweep them under the rug for a little bit. So what a moment! What a moment!
Do you think missing from the moment last night? I don't know if you feel the same way as I do. Did you find yourself wishing that Patrick Beverley was still a part of that team?
Especially where the shot occurred.
Yes. Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Beverley would have had to sit there and witness that. Just the overall, I think, like, stunning faces on the Milwaukee bench was pretty cool to see. Like, I go back to Saturday night in Atlanta, and the 4 guys around Siakam when he goes in for the layup at the end instead of shooting the 3, it's like Turner, Nemhard, and Nesmith and whoever else was out there. Like they were stunned. I mean, they just like couldn't believe what was happening. And in a different way, that's how the Milwaukee bench reacted last night. So, yeah, somewhere that lady who got that ball thrown at her, maybe she was able to smile last night based off what had happened. Hopefully she was there.
So Doc Rivers, they put that challenge on so they couldn't advance the ball. Is that how that went last night?
Yeah, I was curious about that. So they lost the challenge and lost the timeout, right?
Right. So they couldn't advance the ball because they lost the timeout.
Right. I mean, I probably would have challenged it. I don't know.
Well, Giannis told them to challenge it, but here's the issue that you had. There was more than one foul because he got him with the body, and then the whole landing space situation came into play. And then you just kind of knew that was like a desperation attempt. And I think you had a better opportunity at advancing the ball and still winning the game than you did winning the game by virtue of that review. Did you not? Does that make sense to you, Kev?
Yeah, I guess when you lay that out, they probably should have been a little more cognizant, as well as, like, that now gets called endlessly in the NBA.
Yes.
Like, the whole letting the shooter have whatever space to fall down.
There's no way they're overturning that, Kev, last night. None.
Right. And I mean,
not even with Scott Foster doing the 35-minute review.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to have your, king NBA conspiracy theorist of national television. Let's get the game in overtime. It's Giannis, et cetera, to overturn that. I mean, hell, they actually got a better shot at the end than I thought. Like, when they started to inbound it, I was like, oh, this is going to be some half-court heave. And then I'm like, damn, Giannis was like, 20 feet away from the basket by the time it was all said and done there. So, yeah, they probably should have done that. I'll be interested now moving forward Giannis closed out to Haliburton enough, but they guarded the play horribly. I mean, if you go back and watch it, 2 guys go with Nesmith. It's like, you would think now, I don't know, will teams just kind of like almost area zone like that sort of play? And, if you're going to go with anybody, you'd rather go with A, Haliburton, and B, the nearest guy to Nembhard. It was kind of –
Well, why would you mess with anybody that was not beyond the three-point line? That's the other thing. They had two, right, that were inside the three-point line. But anyway.
And that's where I think Giannis waited a little bit too long probably to get out to Haliburton there, yeah. So, but again, credit to the Pacers for putting stress on him in that situation of dialing that up. And, I know Rick has told us, and, Kenny Busick, had a huge, huge part in implementing that in the playbook last year. And I think Mike Weiner, Rick said after the game last night, had a little tweak to it. So it was ran beautifully. Nembhard is the inbounder. Seems like the perfect guy for it. And I'll be curious what, if any, wrinkles they now have off of that if they get into a situation again like that.
I'd like to get Jenny on the show sometime because I think that would be a fascinating conversation. So
I would as well. Yeah, I have thought about that and pitched that idea, but I think she is. I think she enjoys kind of not having to be the. And I know you and I, from a basketball nerd standpoint, want to talk more about that, but I think she enjoys the hey, don't just have me on to talk about being a woman assistant in the NBA.
Well, I'd have Weiner on too. I'd have Boylan on. I'd any of those guys on. Pargo, any of those guys.
Yeah, and they're great at halftime. I mean,
I'm just happy when Mike Preston returns one of my texts. So,
but we are speaking for us in the morning. We are very grateful for Rick Carlisle.
Yeah,
8 o'clock.
Yeah, I told him such yesterday. I think that's really cool. We're able to have that on every Tuesday in the morning. All right, you guys keep on keeping on, Kev. It's a pleasure, man. Get back to that Notre Dame ending.
You bet, John. Great month out of the year. Always enjoy our chats.
You got it. Kevin Bowen on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. James says break and let's break. Matt Painter, the head coach at Purdue, top of the hour. You stay right there. I've got stuff to give away, too. We give back to those that listen to the show, like me or not. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
and the beat goes on. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Notre Dame bounce. Game over 76-56. Second round of the ACC tournament in Charlotte. Carolina trying to get off the proverbial bubble into the NCAA tournament field. I don't know if that win's going to help them. I may have to go one more than that. At the half, game one of the first round of the Big Ten Conference Tournament. It is officially underway at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Northwestern holding a 3-point advantage, 32-29, over Minnesota. Wildcats 16-15, Golden Gophers 15-16 on the season there. You got two more to come after that as well. Iowa, Ohio State, that's at 6 o'clock tonight. And then USC and Rutgers. These, by the way, they're all peacocking you tonight. So get ready to stream. We do not have Peacock in here. I think one of these days we're going to have some versatility and have a little bit of everything, aren't we? Look at that. That was awesome, the way that just came apart.
Weren't you just talking about how yours yesterday was going to fall apart? That's lovely.
I like to say this out loud because everybody laughs when I say it, but I try not to yank mine as much as possible because I'm afraid it's going to come off.
I need to clip that.
Yeah. On my microphone. James just yanked on his microphone over there, and I wish we had this on video. And I know you guys have to stay on these chiseled features of mine right now. But James yanked on his a little bit too hard, and it popped right off. Sometimes that happens. Indiana, Oregon. Mike DeCourcy joined us a little bit earlier, and Mike, with his bracketology, along with Joe Lenardi of ESPN, still have IU right now in the Final Four in. I felt secure. Now, his basis was because there are going to be some bid stealers out there. And you may be hosed with that right there.
Yeah, it's not wanting to go back on.
That's awesome. Just let it dangle. That's what I do with mine.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's great for the cord, too.
Just be able to put all this stuff. I'm giving you Soundbite City right now, all right? Just let it dangle because that's what I like to do with mine. Your microphone. At noon tomorrow, IU and Oregon. I mentioned Mike DeCourcy joined a little bit earlier. We talked about the bracketology of it. And, again, his emphasis was about the bid stealers that are out there. We shall see. Certainly, if IU were to avenge a loss a couple of weeks ago, that took place on the road at Eugene against Oregon, then solidified in the NCAA tournament. And we talked about the coaching situation there, talked about the Boilermakers getting back into shape. Matt Painter, the Purdue head coach, going to join us, by the way, coming up at the top of the hour. That looks outstanding right there. This came right off, huh? Yep. Who do we blame for that? That's not really your thing. Is that Eddie Garrison or is that Dykton's problem right there? Who do you blame for it?
Let's blame Garrison.
That's awesome. JMV, so I was at the game last night. What did you think about the end result? Was that as exciting as it's been in a while? I will say this. Yeah, buzzer beater, and that's great. I still say because it's a playoff atmosphere and it was the Knicks that the Nembhard step back 35-foot three in the postseason a year ago is a little larger and more in charge in that situation. But no, I'm right there with you on that. Got anybody to help you out right there? Here comes Todd. There we go. See, Todd, we've got a producer / board op that's just breaking stuff here. Todd's walking in here with a very unapproving look about what has transpired in this studio in the past couple of minutes, not liking it whatsoever. Hey, James, I do want to get a call before we hit a break here. Matt Painter is going to join us at the top of the hour. John is at 239-1070. John, welcome to the show.
Oh, hey, JMV. I've heard a lot of talk about Anthony Richardson.
Yes.
And I would say this, we talk about his inaccuracy, consistency, his tapping out last year. But I would be hesitant to sign him to an extension to big money, like whatever they're paying starters.
No, you'd have to be incredibly drunk to do that right now. Yes. And nobody's that drunk.
I would be reluctant to do that solely based on his injury history. Forget everything else. The guy is hurt a lot, and I would be just solely based on his penchant for getting hurt. I would be hesitant to sign that deal.
I'm curious about this. Let's say that he has a better than what we have seen in the first 2 years type of season. Would that change your mind? Or maybe even better stated, what would change your mind?
Well, I'll answer your question, but I don't know if he's up for the extension after this year or after 2 years.
After this year. After this year.
Okay. I would need to see him play virtually all the games. I want to see his injury history. I want to see that he can stay healthy and remain on the field. 17 games is a lot of games, and he just hasn't demonstrated that he's healthy.
I am a non-believer for a lot of the facts in which you just stated. Now, do I get overall why they continue down this path? I do. But I'm also of the opinion that what I have seen so far is just never going to translate into what they thought. And the quicker you get on a different path, the better for the organization and certainly better for the fan base. But again, this is their chosen path right now. And I do understand in year number 3, you give it year number 3. But a lot's going to have to happen to me to prove it that this is ultimately going to be the right move. And, John, you sound like somebody who has a similar thought.
I do. Can I leave you with one final thing?
You better.
This is my starting 5. So I've been following the NBA since 1970.
Yes.
And I'm going to give you my starting 5 since that time. Are you ready?
Yeah.
And with one caveat, I realize it's very controversial, and for every position you could list 5 guys who could start. But my starting 5 would be Jabbar, Tim Duncan, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and Steph Curry.
I don't think you can argue with any of those right there.
All right. Thanks, JMV.
Yeah, John, thank you very much. The thing about Kareem is he always gets kind of lost in the shuffle of discussion of all time, and he shouldn't, because he was an absolute scoring machine, and he, with the sky hook, nobody could deal with that. There was nothing more dominant during his era than the sky hook. And don't you wonder, I mean, it's a different game now, and hell, rarely, if ever, does anybody, shoot a shot that's inside the three-point line. But there was nothing more dominant, nothing more guaranteed than the sky hook back then. Jerome's next at 239-1070. Line 2, Jerome, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, my friend?
I'm great, Jerome. Go ahead.
Hey, you got me off track there talking about Kareem for a second in the sky hook. It's still the most dominant shot that ever was in the NBA.
Completely
People
agree.
don't understand. They stopped Kareem. They didn't want him dunking the basketball. Imagine could he dunk when he was in college and pros. People talk about us being old school guys, man. Yeah, we're old. You know what old stands for? Outliving dummies. Anyway, man, my question is, we should have beat Milwaukee last night. I know I'm changing gears. We should have beat them in regulation. I don't understand why the last 3 minutes Siakam can't get the ball. Nembhard takes some boneheaded shots. And I'm sorry, I'm a Haliburton fan, but, man, you got to play some form of matador defense. I don't understand on our 10-day contracts when we go out and get guys, we get guys that are just barely good enough to play for the Mad Ants. I mean, there are NBA players out there that can help. I'll give you an example. Alfred Payton got 15 assists against us. He's 6'6". I get it, he can't score, but that boy can lock up, play defense, and run. That's all we need, somebody else to play defense. I still don't understand.
Jerome, how can you be so unhappy after last night right now? Where's the happiness in you, Jerome?
Because I'm trying to get to the finals, and I don't do full.
Well, they're not going to get to the finals this year. Are they?
I think we got a shot if we get another score. I think we got.
Well, you can't get anybody right now. Who are you going to get? I mean, you could maybe sign me, I guess, or you, Jerome.
Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. You're going to laugh. You're going to get mad at me when I'm going to say it again.
Uh-oh.
T.J. Warren's out there for 20 points a game, man. Just give him a 10-day.
What the hell's 10? Where's T.J. Warren? I thought he was sitting. Was he not sitting on the Bulls bench the other night? Did I see that? I saw him somewhere.
I thought he got redo. And then, you're gonna laugh at this one. You're gonna agree with me.
I'm already laughing at that one. You got more?
Yeah, Lance Stevenson right now is better than Bronny.
What? I love Lance Stevenson too.
He'll play with some fire. He'll play with some heart. I'm just telling you, man. Hey, get somebody here. This is somebody can play defense, man. We don't need any more scorers. We need somebody about 6'7" to 6'9" that can play grown man defense. The Knicks are waiting on us.
Hey, Jerome, you know I like you a great deal, but I do question your theories right here. I do. I have a little bit of question in this.
That's okay.
The T.J. Warren and the Lance Stevenson. I got a little question. I like you. I like you a great deal.
Go along with me.
Jerome, I appreciate the call.
Have a good one, brother.
That's Jerome right there. Did he say Lance Stevenson and T.J. Warren? The hell else are we going to add to that team? Classic. All right, quick break. We'll come back. I see D's hanging there. Look, you get a brand new microphone.
I know.
Do we have a Mr. Microphone around here anywhere?
Do we have someone who
remember Mr. Microphone, the toy?
No.
Hey, good looking. I'll be back to pick you up later. What in?
Is this like the little robot toy microphone that you talk into?
It's a microphone that it would find its way into your radio. It'd be a microphone. You'd turn it on, and I guess the radio waves would go into your radio, and you could play it through the radio.
Interesting.
Mr. Microphone, and there's I think it was it Ronco or K-Tel? I think it was Ronco. And there's a commercial. You can check it out online. YouTube this right now, where the nerdy guy says, "Hey, good looking, I'll be back to pick you up later." And there's no way he scored good looking in that. None. She probably said, "Hey, dork, how about if I keep on driving, because there's no way I'm going to double back and talk to your nerdy ass right here." Seriously. Great commercial, though. No Mr. Microphone?
I keep hitting the wrong microphone button.
We can just plug it in for you, and you can just go through anybody's radio out there right now.
Oh, there you go.
Quick one, Matt Painter, top of the hour. Hey, don't go anywhere. Pantera tickets. These are separate shows, by the way. Pantera being one. James may get another tattoo in honor of Pantera playing here locally in the summertime at Ruoff. Right?
I already have a Pantera tattoo.
Good God. Where is that? Y'all want to know?
It's right above my left elbow.
What compelled you to get a Pantera tat?
I had $40 and wanted a Pantera tattoo.
Hey, is it wrong of me, and really, this is just your opinion, and obviously you're not a parent, but I've informed both of my kids that not only are they not allowed to get tattoos now, but if they get a tattoo once I'm dead, that I'm going to come back and haunt their ass.
I think my parents said something very similar to me.
There's zero way. I don't even care if I'm dead.
And then,
well, when I get out of the house, I don't care.
I grew up hearing that, and then on my 18th birthday, I got a tattoo.
So not even when I'm dead, because I will come back as a spirit in this material world, James, and haunt every ounce of my kids. No way. No way. That too hardcore? I'm really not that crusty. I'm a
I think that's pretty standard.
Flexible dude right
I think
there.
that's a pretty standard opinion for most parents of your age.
Matt Painter, top of the hour. I mentioned Pantera tickets. Separate show, Pantera and The Offspring as well. So sit tight. Going to give you a chance to win those in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. AAA Membership Lounge, YouTube Live, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Go! 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
This sounds like Offspring right here. Anybody want to go check it out? July the 26th. It's on a Saturday night. You guys want to go check out from Huntington Beach, California. 1984. Dexter and Noodles put this bad boy together. It is alternative rocker / ska / what else is in there too? Ska, alternative, rock. Yeah. In general, you keep hitting the wrong button. I know it's weird.
It's throwing me off.
Number 9 at 239-1070. You can check out Dexter and the guys from Offspring. And do that on me. I saw Sean Ash send this out. Here's your weather watch stat coming up for tomorrow, I believe. Quote, a wind machine brings strong. This is 40 to 55 mile per hour, non-thunderstorm gusts Friday into Saturday. A weakening line of storms could enhance the wind between 11 and 6 a.m. That's Friday to Saturday. Higher chance of storms going west. That's the Illinois-Indiana border. Or West Terre Haute. Storms shall form above West Terre Haute. Nothing new there. The Colts are announcing officially coming to terms with guys. Daniel Jones, backup quarterback. Maybe starting quarterback, depends on the competition. Shavarius Ward, cornerback. He's a starter. Cam Bynum, safety. He's a starter. That is made official from the Colts this afternoon, coming to terms with each. Damon Dobbs says it's official. Ronco was the manufacturer of Mr. Microphone. Thank you. Skivvy says, I think Jerome wants to bring back Herb Williams, too. Toby Shelton says, you think Jerome wants to bring back Haywood Workman? Well, Haywood Workman has a gig right now. Maybe so. Fowler says, I've been day drinking and celebrated 420 a couple of times, but I swear I thought I heard the caller say the Pacers needed T.J. Warren and Lance Stevenson. That was correct. Jeremiah is right about this. Can the NBA please set a time limit on replay reviews? Not on Scott Foster's watch. 35 minutes still didn't suck all the life out of what was a terrific Haliburton make and moment last night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Back to that and more coming up. Pantera tickets to give away, but you will not want to miss this. The head coach of the Boilermakers, Matt Painter, set to join us coming up next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
your support.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
And Northwestern 54-39, under 10 to go in the second half. Defensively, kind of got Minnesota locked down. 10 points in over 10 minutes of play for the Golden Gophers in the second half. Northwestern in control right now. We'll keep you updated. IU Oregon coming up tomorrow at noon. And, of course, the Boilermakers tomorrow night await the winner of tonight's matchup in round number 1. That is USC and Rutgers. And joining us now, the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. We love having him on board, as always, head coach of the Purdue Boilermakers, Matt Painter's with us. Hey, Matt, thank you for the time. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Sounds like you're on the road right now, so let's talk about you're kind of waiting to see who you're going to play. How difficult is that, not knowing a day prior who your competition is going to be in a one-and-done situation like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's not difficult once you know, in terms of, you can live scout the game. And so, like, they're going to play a game at 8:30 tonight, and then we're going to play the next night at 9. Like, they're not going to make a lot of switches and changes within 24 hours. So, like, that's not the hard piece of it. You just got a couple practices here where you're just really trying to, clean up your stuff and kind of work on your team. And you do a little bit for each team. Like you look at something, you say, this is, something that, bothered us when we played them, and you just want to get some drill work. Both of them have good individual guys that get into ISOs and play and make it very difficult. So those are just some things that, like, we've worked on to try to help, just like every other team works on when they face, both of these teams. But no matter who we play, we're going to play a team that is just won a game and feels good about themselves. And, you just got to prepare. You can't look at the first game as any different than any other game. Now you look at the second game, third game, fourth game, if you can keep winning, you look at them a little bit differently, because as you go along, it gets a little bit harder, but it is the same for everybody after a while. And this is the first time we haven't had a double bye. So we haven't played in this game since the double bye came into existence. So a little different for us in terms of the longevity of it and having to play 4 games. But if we don't like it, then we should have won that last game, and we wouldn't be in this position.
Hey, Matt, I was going to ask you this, too. We talk about this regarding football or the NFL all the time. Is it not a disadvantage, but is it a little bit of an advantage for that team to get the positivity, their feet beneath them, to play 40 and already get that win, have that positivity going in to face you guys? Is that an advantage for that team, that's getting that next game against the team that's yet to play?
I think that's really hard to quantify there. I think when that team wins, you say that. When that team loses, you say the other team's better, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, you can go back and forth. Well, with all that, it's just being ready to play. It's you work so hard. We talk about it in USA Basketball when we're selecting teams. We just said, how is this guy going to be in 3 weeks from now, in Shenzhen, China for the gold medal game? Like, how is he going to be? And then the people look at, what's that got to do with it? Well, when you're 18, 19 years old and you travel around the world and you got to play basketball, and then all of a sudden you're the 9th man and you've been top dog your whole life, how are you going to be, in terms of helping us win? Like, well, everyone's excited in June and July, I'm going to get better. In September, I'm going to get better. I'm going to improve. And then you get into the dog days and you might not get the role you want, or you might not get the shots or the minutes that you want. Now, like, are you playing right now? Like it's a dilemma in college basketball. Like, who's really already in the portal and who's not, right? So, like, who's on your team that everybody is still fighting for your team to win? Like, or do you have 25% with a foot out the door? Do you have 50% with a foot out the door? So you have a lot of that, like, trying to keep everybody, because no one's going to say something outright where they stand, actually. And some people are just, trying to do the old-fashioned, just do everything in their power to help your team win. We're hoping we're at 100% right there. There's a lot of coaches that, that you wonder about it, but you've worked so hard to get here. And that's the goal, right? The goal is to try to win a championship. We didn't. Now, like, you're trying to do your best right here to win some games, to gain some momentum, to get better, so you can be great in the NCAA tournament. But it's not the best out of 3. It's not the best out of 5. It's not the best out of 7. They're one-off games. So, like, if you play somebody that you're better than and they play better, like, you lose and you go home. So you might as well get into that setting here, even though we're going to the NCAA tournament no matter what happens. Like, do everything in your power to improve yourself, to improve your seed, whatever it might be, and have everybody together fighting and scratching and clawing just to try to get that win. If you're lucky enough to get it, you move to the next game and keep doing the same things.
Well, I'm going to remember that answer the next time I bring that up for the NFL wild card next year. That answer right there.
There you go.
Solid as a rock. Matt Painter, the head coach of the Boilermakers on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. They await the winner of Rutgers and USC. I did want to ask you, first year with these West Coast teams involved in it, and obviously these West Coast trips that had to be performed, how did you like the whole scheduling aspect of it and how it went down? Any adjustments need to be made, or do you like it the way that it has been presented in this first season?
Well, I think we have to listen to the people that get that affects the most. So I think the opinions of the 4 West Coast schools need to be heard, and because their travel's the toughest, it's the hardest on them. They have to come east a handful of times, where we just have to go west once. And so, like, it's for us, that wasn't hard. I think it's hard when you travel back. And I think they can really speak on that because they do it a lot more than we do it. But yeah, you just have to, be ready to go there. You got 2 games in your travel. We don't have anything else where we really travel in our league and we stay out more than one day. We'll do it maybe sometimes over break where we stay out and we don't miss school, but we always, play a road game, come back. Play a couple home games or play a home game and then go out on the road. So to go out west and then, get those 2 games and come back, I don't think we were as sharp in our game came back. But we played well out there and had success. But anytime you go through something where there's not something to guide you as much, you're going to make some mistakes in terms of your schedule and things that happen in terms of what the league did. There was mistakes made, but now you got to be able to fix those mistakes. If you go forward and you don't fix those, then like you're not looking at the big picture and doing what's best for your league. It's never going to be the same for the West Coast schools in terms of what they have to do versus us. It's just impossible. You got 4 schools on the West Coast. You got a lot of other Midwestern and East Coast schools. It's going to be the hardest on them no matter how things get shaped. But I think we need to start by listening to them and not getting our opinions.
Matt Painter joins us. I want to bring up your team. You referenced that a little bit earlier in closing out the season. Obviously, you await the winner of Rutgers and USC for that first matchup at Cambridge Fieldhouse. Thoughts on your team, where it is right now, and some expectations going into hopefully what's going to be a long weekend here in Indy for you?
Well, we've really done some good things offensively. Like, we didn't make the shots that we're capable of making other night in Illinois, but we weren't bad. But we kept getting good shots, and we kept getting shots by the right guys. And so, like, that for us, if they want to take away other guys' 3-pointers and just allow Trey Kaufman-Wren and Braden to play there in a 2-man game, then we're going to do that. So, like, some people take that away, some people don't take that away. But offensively, we've had a very good year. Number 1 in the Big Ten in field goal percentage, number 1 in 3-point field goal percentage, have a high assist turnover ratio. Obviously, we have 3 really good pieces right there from an offensive standpoint. We got to do a better job of finishing games. We've put ourselves in really good positions. And then at times we've rewarded ourselves and other times we haven't. We got to be better in the last 5 minutes of a game, not really necessarily making shots because we're executing and we're getting good shots, and that's what you have to just continue to do. But we got to get stops. We have to be better defensively. We have to do a better job of just the details of things and then being able to pull out those games.
It's Matt Painter, the head coach of the Boilermakers. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You had mentioned, is there anybody kind of answering a question, I guess, at a press conference, anybody more valuable than Braden Smith? And obviously that determination within the league has been made. Braden and then Trey, both a part of that first team in the Big Ten. Little thoughts on the season individually both of those guys have had for you, Matt?
Yeah, they had great years, and you want that each year. Braden's someone who has started every game of his career just like Fletcher. And so, like, his progress and his moving, we obviously had a very good player last year in Zach Edey. And so, like, now you have to coexist with somebody that is that good and that big and understand how to play with him. And I thought our guys did a great job. And now Braden has more responsibility a little bit in terms of scoring, and TK we knew once from an offensive standpoint, like he could do a lot of different things, so we played differently with him in terms of how people want to handle ball screens because Braden's so good in ball screens. So those two guys in their two-man game and pocket passes and playing and just holding everybody else kind of playing around that, and then Fletcher Lawyer's been able to just, like, it seems like make every shot, especially when they count, and so trying to get him looks and sometimes can be difficult for us because they'll take that away and then like they'll play in a drop and they'll just let those two kind of play and then they won't allow threes, and so like we take what they give him. If they want to help off of that, he's going to get more cracks at it. It just depends on how he's guarded, depends on how Braden's guarded in ball screens, and then obviously what they're doing with Trey in the post and that short roll. So those guys have been great. Braden, obviously MVP of the league, affects winning, does a lot of little things. His ability to pass and his ability to make shots off the dribble really put people in a bind. Trey is a very unique player in terms of he can make passes and decisions in that short roll. He can make that little shovel shot, kind of that intermediate push shot there. But his decision-making is really what's improved the most. And he's just got a knack around the rim. He's got really good footwork. But both of those guys have, really played well for us this year and done some great things.
Trey's got dream footwork. Seriously.
There you go.
I was going to ask you that too. I know that he gets worked with great on these moves and such, but how much of that beyond work ethic is just a natural ability to have that? It's like almost like hand-eye coordination, feet movement coordination. How much of that is just natural ability?
Yeah. I would say there's some natural ability, but he puts in a lot of time. I would say it's more his work that he's put in the off season, and with our coaches, Brandon Brantley does a really good job. And I always say that you got to be careful about stuff because you say, "Hey man, you did a great job with his footwork," and I'm like, "Okay, then why doesn't everybody have his footwork?" So you got to give credit. You got to give credit to the player. It's a player's game, man. Yeah. You got to give credit. It's like what we do. Like PJ Thompson's done a great job running our offense and really helping Braden. He's been great for Braden. Played the position. But PJ's done a great job of teaching and really mentoring him. But at the end of the day, like Braden walked in the door being able to pass. Like it's like Carson Edwards. Okay, you guys did a great job with Carson Edwards. First time I saw Carson Edwards, he was hitting pull-up 30-footers. And so, like, don't look like Purdue, invented Carson's ability to make 30-footers because we didn't. So it's a player's game, but you got to have a skill set and you got to have a work ethic that you put towards it, and Trey's been able to do that.
Well, work ethic is definitely a skill set. It just seems like you brought up a great point. Why doesn't everybody have footwork like that? But it just kind of seems like more, and I know it comes down to work ethic too, but it just seems like more and more apt to be able to do it, have more of a balance, have more of a forward thought. I don't know. I'm maybe just making blank up right now, Matt, but it just seems like sometimes there is also a difference in just the ability of somebody. It's so fluid for him, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things it's hard to explain, but it's easy to see.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot in recruiting. You just be like, man, he's just got it. And then they'll ask you, well, explain, what do you mean by it? And you just be like, well, I've been around basketball since I was 5. You sometimes when you see something, you're like, hey, man, he's got a knack. Like he's got a feel. Like he's got that, whatever that sixth tangible effect that, like, you can't teach. And so, like, Braden has that in terms of his passing. He has that in terms of his footwork. Like Fletcher Lawyer has that in terms of his fluidity when he shoots the basketball. But there's no one is great at something without time. Like no one's just been anointed. Like you got to put in time. You got to put in that work, and all those guys have done that.
So Matt Painter, the head coach of the Boilermakers on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You brought this up a little bit earlier, and obviously we talked about this before, the transfer portal, NIL, and all that. And I saw Danny Hurley had talked about how often his guys are being approached by other teams and so on and so forth. How much of that do you deal with within your program? Do you either know or you believe? Yeah. And is there anything at all we can look? You're always trying to forward think, and I have a great deal of admiration for what you do. Let's forward think about this right now. Are there better ways to handle this as we move forward?
Not really, because you're still playing your season, and people are now segueing to their next season. like you don't get out your baseball mitt until basketball season's over. And, you got to keep your focus and keep your head where your backside is. And now, because you've worked so hard to be here, you can't forget about what you put the work in for. You put the work in so your team wins. You put the work in so you can win a championship. You put the work in so you hear your name on that Sunday, and now you go out and compete and try to win it all. But only one team's going to be happy. And that's where you got to keep your focus, and that's what you owe them, even if you have guys that are doing that. Everybody has guys that are thinking about it. Everybody does. So it's not a Purdue issue or a UConn issue. It's college basketball, and it's the way it is. You got to embrace where you're at. You got to embrace, like, this week, like, try to win the Big Ten tournament, try to win the NCAA tournament. But it's once it's over, there's no 2 weeks and say, hey, like you used to say, take some time off here, get away or whatever. You got to have meetings. You got to have meetings right away. You got to say, okay, where are you at? What do you want to do? And then you got to get towards, because that settlement's going to get secured the Monday of the championship game. And so, you got to be ready. We're ready right now. We're ready, but you don't know the direction of some people. And so the thing that I try to do here and we try to do here is just circle our guys with the best support staff and the best people and be truth tellers and just coach them, help them, from an education standpoint to a development standpoint. If you think you can walk somewhere and get a better education at Purdue and get a better experience than you see in Mackey Arena 20 times a year and go to the tournament 9 straight years and win the Big Ten 4 out of the last 9 years and go to a Final Four, God bless you, man. God bless you. Yeah. Then leave, get more money, get a better education, get a better experience. But I doubt you're going to check those boxes. And then the one thing that we want to be on top shelf about it is being honest and trying to help them. But you're not going to appease everybody. Right now, we have one guy leaving, right? So everybody's going to, if they want to improve and they want to improve their situation, they're going to have to battle and beat the people that they've been competing against this year probably. All right, because we're going to get some guys here. We're going to get some more guys here in the spring because you have to, and you have to be aggressive. So for us, it's one of those wait and see type things, but we just want to keep building our product. So when they sit there and make a decision and they're thinking about leaving, you're like, hey, you might get a little bit more money here. I doubt you get a better education. I doubt you get a better experience. And if you're a real player, it's development. It's like Zach Edey could have been in the high 30s, the low 40s. He comes back and he's a lottery pick. J.I. could have went and been the end of the first round. He comes back. He's a lottery pick. It doesn't mean that's the same situation for everybody because not everybody has those kinds of ceilings. But at the end of the day, we've proven we've developed people. We've proven we've won championships. We also have proven that we've been able to do these things without losing our soul and that we're above board, which you shouldn't get credit for. But when you go through life and you have experiences such as this and you battle adversity and you do it the right way, man, you're setting a foundation for success, for your business life and your personal life.
How difficult is it, Matt, to adjust on the fly as you have to do, I'm assuming now, without sacrificing the beliefs you just discussed with us?
Yeah, you just have to weigh it. This is changing here because we're going to go into a salary cap. So it's changing. So everybody else was being able to do it. People have to understand that last year, 13% of the money that kids got were name, image, and likeness, and 87% were the collective. They were given 87% of it. So people don't, when they say name, image, and likeness is a bad way to represent what's going on because it was only 13% of the money total in all of men's basketball. So, it's very deceiving what we're doing. Well, let's just do what we're, doing now and get to this point. So once we get that confirmed on that Monday, now you have a cap. And that's what we want. We want to have a cap so all the money is pretty similar. And I think that's what coaches have started to say, okay, who's going to have more? Who's going to have more than, the normal? What's the norm going to be so we can operate? There's always going to be some people that are going to be a little bit ahead of you. We're going to put ourselves in a good position. I really feel like we're going to be in a very, very good position to be competitive in that field. Now we still got to get the same guys with the same makeup. That's the key. The evaluation has to be the key because you want to continue to get pieces that can help you win. That the number one thing they're coming here for is that development, is to win and to understand that, you're going to get an education here. It's the whole package at Purdue, and that's what's cool. That's what's cool about what we sell.
Yeah, it's amazing how this is just kind of ever changing. I mean, it is. But you adjust on the fly, you stay true to yourself, and that's what I've always had, Matt, a great deal of admiration for you, and you know this because of just that. And it's now, I think, more difficult than ever. It may become easier with a cap, but it seems like right now in this moment it's more difficult to do that and to stay true to your beliefs than it ever has been. So
yeah, and it's like, it's a professional. It's professional basketball. So, be able to look at it. But if you deal with anybody, especially who runs an organization in professional basketball, they're not upset about overpaying someone who's really productive. And we feel the same way. It's just that's why they call it name, image, and likeness. Well, the top couple players, you watch a Major League Baseball game and you got 50-plus players on both teams. Well, count how many people are in the commercial.
Yeah,
You're going to have 3, 4, 5 guys in a commercial. Not everybody gets that. That's what you have to understand. Now everybody's kind of getting that, but everybody gets paid, right? But not everybody. So, let's call it what it is. Let's get to a cap. Let's get guys that'll pay, and get paid and do that. But also let's make sure that we have a balance and not forget that 99% of these guys are not going to be pros. And keep that in perspective and make sure education and having values, because if you're just chasing all conference and you're not a pro, and then at the end of the day, did it really help you? Did this opportunity really, really help you? Because that's what scholarships have been able to do for many, many years. They've been able to help people. You don't want to get into a situation where 99% of them aren't pros and you're devaluing education, because a lot of these opportunities are a springboard for success that some guys might not have had, and that's still very, very valuable.
I'm right there still. I'm 55 years old, and I love basketball as much as I did when I really, truly sucked at much younger ages. So I love it as much as I do. Not
55. 55's old, man.
55. Do you think that's old?
When you're 54, it is. Yeah.
I do remember how old it used to be. I think I'm 15. I think I'm 15 years older than Archie Bunker in All in the Family right now. I don't feel nor look like that.
That'll hurt your feelings.
Hey, man. Go ahead.
Not as much as it hurt Edith's feelings. Yeah, no doubt.
Hey, safe travels down here. Yeah, 55. Do you remember how old it was? You're growing up, in Delaware County, and how old 55 felt when you were a teenager?
Oh, yeah. I used to look at the guys that recruited me like they were old. And I get to school and their assistants, and I looked at them like they were old. Now I look back and they were 33. And I'm whoa. And now you're 54, and you're like, man, I'm not that old. You're hell, you're not.
I look in the mirror and I go, there's no damn way I'm 55 years old. Look at this specimen right here. And then I get told otherwise by mostly everybody else. So, hey, safe travels down here to Indy, and we'll catch up with you again soon. It's always an absolute pleasure, and the best of luck down here. And then once you find out on Sunday where you guys are going, we'll do it again soon.
Cool. See you, man.
All right, Matt. Take it easy. Matt Painter on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Outstanding, as always. All right, I'm way over right here, but I just kind of sit back and enjoy. Quick break. Back after this. Do not go anywhere. Busy day tomorrow and Friday. I shall explain. And we revisit last night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, which was one hell of a moment. The stream, the app, HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live and 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Johnny for Big Red Liquors. Did you know that Big Red Liquors and Crown Liquors, they're 19 locations. They have merged now to make one with Big Red Liquors, and even easier for you to find these locations for these great deals. Like St. Patrick's Day coming up, right? So make sure you're ready. Jameson Irish Whiskey, only $24.99. Guinness 8-packs, just $13.99. Let's go local for a minute. Upland Dragonfly, 12 packs, only $19.99. Taxman out of Bargersville, my friends down there, 4-pack cans, $5.99. Twisted Tea, 12 packs, just $19.99. How about Keystone Light right there? 30 packs, ice cold for you, $19.99. Add this as well to your list of things for St. Patrick's Day and then some. And the 100-plus locations of Big Red Liquors as they've merged now with Crown for even more locations to serve you the red-hot deals and then some. You can find BigRedLiquors.com.
Comcast Business helps turn today's small businesses into engines of modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. How retailers become seamlessly restocking, cyber-securing, must-visit shops. And how healthcare offices become the data managing caregivers that we all depend on. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, advanced fiber solutions, and Wi-Fi backup, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business. Powering possibilities.
Now through May 4th, new customers can get started with 300 megabit internet and Security Edge for $69 a month for 24 months. And ask how to get free installation on qualifying bundles. Plus, find out how to get a $500 prepaid card on a qualifying gig bundle. Call today. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas. Requires enrollment in paperless billing and automatic payments with bank account. Equipment, taxes, and other fees extra. After 24 months, regular rates apply.
It is your good friend, John. I'm thinking about you. Springtime, the weather is absolutely awesome. The nursery lots are filling quickly at both Sundown Gardens and Miss M's Home and Garden. Westfield, for those on the north side, those staked out in Hamilton County, and for those like me down on the south side into Johnson County, you'll find Miss M's Home and Garden in Bargersville. And the garden shop is on full display right now. Great spring decor. Trees and shrubs arriving weekly. Come shop the early selection. I promise your preparation will pay off with the curb appeal on your property that you're looking for. Thanks to Sundown Gardens, 186th Street and Spring Mill Road. That's in Westfield, sundowngardens.com. Miss M's Home and Garden, that's State Road 135 in Bargersville, near me. Hey, go ahead and stop by my house as well if you're around Bargersville, and we'll go together, too. Again, that's near Whiteland Road, Bargersville. Miss M's Home and Garden.com today.
Here's what's going on with the Fan.
Listen to Jay Query all this week for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Mary J. Blige Monday, April 21st at Gamebridge Fieldhouse.
For more info, log on to 1075thefan.com.
The Ride with JMV. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
So Khalil Herbert is a backup running back. Was traded at the trade deadline a year ago from the Bears to Cincinnati. He is the latest pickup for the Colts in free agency. I believe is also a return guy as well. We'll talk about that. Matt and I are going to converse at the top of the hour. Did you say, James, on the Colts Daily Update? Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts, and I about that and more. And in these free agency deals have been made official by the Colts, talking about Bynum and Ward and Jones earlier today. And you can add Herbert to the mix right there. Again, I think it was trade deadline in 2024. From the Bears to the Bengals, free agent acquisition, Khalil Herbert is the guy right there. We'll discuss that and more with Matt Taylor coming up here at the top of the hour. Diggler brought this up, and he's right. You forgot to ask Matt Painter about his interest in the IU job, and that was on behalf of Dutch, and Dutch would be Brian Evans. If you remember on Monday, Brian Evans asked me if I would ask Matt Painter his interest in the IU job. It didn't feel right. I didn't bring it up to Dusty yesterday either because I knew all along that wasn't going to happen. I know all along this isn't going to happen. So, I want to make sure I'm not going to play the jackass role to them, although they would probably laugh. I'm sure Matt would probably laugh, especially given the fact that Dutch, Brian Evans, is the one that brought it up. But no, Diggler, I did not bring that up. I saw the odds a little bit earlier on the next IU basketball coach. Among the favorites would be from Creighton, Greg McDermott, and from Drake, Ben McCollum. Those are the favorites right now. I think you know about it. If you watch Drake and you're number one with Ben McCollum at Drake has been fantastic for them. And then it goes without saying the style, the brand of basketball, and the results that they've seen at Creighton over the years with Greg McDermott. But those are a couple of the odds makers' favorites for the upcoming, or I should say the opening gig in Bloomington. All right, 239-1070 is that number. Tomorrow's show, Mike Chappell, correct? Is there something else I'm missing? I'm going to see tomorrow. I'm not quite sure. This is all dependent upon IU. So, James, if IU wins and they feel compelled, I'm going to see if we can get Leo on the show tomorrow. But IU would have to win. So right. IU, Oregon at noon. I'm going to head down there. You guys tell me where you guys are going. I may go have a shot or 12 with you before. I'm going to go down and watch. I'm going to try to stay for the entirety of the first game and then go back for the nighttime session. But tomorrow, I will be there. Now, it's weird. I don't think I have any live shows scheduled for tomorrow or Friday, which is beyond really weird. Should be. But I don't think there's anything scheduled. So really, I'm wide open. You guys tell me. We can go to the District Tap, which I know very well. We can go to Coach's Tavern, which obviously I know very well. We can go to Pivot, where I was yesterday before that noon start. You just tell me where you guys want to go tomorrow if you're going to the games beginning at noon at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And, hell, I'll just meet you down there. But we shall see. If IU wins, we'll give our best effort. See, IU in football, they were really good, and my man, the Kegerator, really good about, but, the basketball has been a different story. So we'll see. So we'll give it a try if they win with Leo coming up on tomorrow's show. And again, that is if they win. James, Mike Chappell tomorrow. Anybody else?
At the moment, I think it's
Gene
just
Simmons.
Chappell.
Are we going to do Gene Simmons tomorrow?
We can do Gene Simmons.
It depends on how things fall. And believe me, It'll be an enjoyable conversation, but I don't want to do like a jack-around session that is non-basketball, non-moment related, because we all rely on the moment. And, Gene's coming in May. Gene has that history with IndyCar. We can do all that at a later date. So we'll see. We'll see if we schedule that tomorrow or not. That's where it stands. Khalil Herbert, backup running back, signed by the Colts today. Again, Matt Taylor and I converse about that and the work that has been done so far in free agency coming up here. The Colts Daily Update at the top of the hour. 239-1070 is the number, as I mentioned. Matt Painter a little bit earlier, that podcast. If you missed any of the conversation, that is 1075thefan.com. Purdue awaits the winner of USC and Rutgers coming up later on tonight at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I'll give you a rundown on the games going on this afternoon. Notre Dame not moving on. Their season is complete, as they were a loser to North Carolina. That's in Charlotte, the ACC second round. First round action, Northwestern, an 8-point victory over Minnesota. So the Wildcats moving on to play coming up tomorrow. Iowa, Ohio State at 6, USC, Rutgers tonight at 8:30. You shall be peacocked by all three of these games at Gainbridge Fieldhouse today. So feel free to be peacocked. Cliff's at 239-1070 up next. Hello, Cliff. How are you?
I'm fine, John. And I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed your conversation with Painter. And I think just a little feedback.
Yeah.
I think your interviewing skills you bring out the best in your guests.
I suck so bad at that, though, man.
No, you do. You really do. You ask open-ended questions and you bring out the best. And I'd like to say just a comment about his interview. He mentioned developments many times in his talk with you, and I think he was talking about two different kinds. One is the development as a player, which he's an excellent teacher, coach, which is what kids, I think look for that, and also he develops them as people, and organized sports I think does that. It develops your values. It develops who you are, and I think that I'm pleased that parents of young athletes still value that and look for that in a program, and it seems like sometimes the personal development is sacrificed a little bit to winning.
Yeah. Well, and you're not going to find anybody better at that than him. And I've always been a tremendous fan of his, because I value friendship a great deal, and I'm like somebody that has always just wanted to hang. And he is somebody like you wouldn't know that he's the head coach of a major collegiate program or the head coach of Purdue. He's just like anybody else. He can have a conversation with you, with me, with James, with Danny Hurley, with anybody, with Rick Carlisle, and I've always had a great deal of admiration for that. He's just a normal dude, much like us, that loves basketball, but gets the opportunity to coach it at a very high level, and is one of the better guys out there. And as you mentioned, is indeed a true leader, and I've always had a great deal of admiration for those qualities.
I agree with that, and it's refreshing to see in today's sports when it could go another direction.
It could, yeah. And sometimes it does. Not all the time, but sometimes it does. Yeah. So, Cliff, anything else, buddy? Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Cliff, thank you. And one of the keys is this is what I try to do, because I've realized this. My shortcoming is I'm just not very bright. I'm not very smart. And so it's come with the territory. I try to get in and out as quickly as possible. I go, okay, I got to ask a question, and then I just kind of lean back and let the smarter people take over, which is basically everybody. Bill's next at 239-1070. I believe Bill joined us yesterday, and it was outstanding at Pivot, was it not, Billy?
Oh, it absolutely was. The weather was tremendous. The venue is
great.
If somebody hadn't been there, you need to go there, because it is really something else. But one of the things I noticed when we were down there yesterday was just to the north of Cambridge, on the side of a building, the Pacers have filled out the entire schedule, and I think the Fan had their logo on top. I think
it did. Yeah, our logo is up on the side of the building. That's pretty awesome.
I thought that was an excellent idea, and it just goes to demonstrate how this gal, the Pacers and everything, is coming up with new ideas to promote the team, and the team is extremely watchable, and last night speaks for itself. And having Reggie Miller there was absolutely tremendous. He's a great ambassador to the city, and I want to be an ambassador to the city too. And so I'm going to volunteer my services that when Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky come into town for the first time, I am going to personally volunteer to take her down to the Monument Circle, because there's a lot of bricks around Monument Circle, and Angel Reese feels comfortable around bricks because that's what she does.
I was going to ask you this. Are you excited about the Fever season getting started here?
Absolutely.
I saw Sophie Cunningham, one of their acquisitions in the offseason, was there last night. And it's interesting. I don't know if you saw this video the Fever sending out, but our guy, you know Emax, much like I know Emax, big-time listener to the show, participant to the show. He shows up all the time. He's also, one of the ushers down on the floor for Cambridge Fieldhouse, was like also in this particular video, our guy Emax, which is pretty awesome. But no, I saw Sophie Cunningham there last night with all these changes and still those that are there, like Caitlin Clark. Pretty excited about the whole thing?
Absolutely, because the team they put together is an absolute juggernaut. It's going to, I don't know if that team alone is going to get WNBA out of the massive debt that they operate in, but they're going to be must-see TV, and every stadium is going to be packed when the Fever shows up to town. So I'm excited about that, and also I just wanted to run one thing by you.
Run it by me, buddy.
Purdue alumnus Neil Armstrong, supposedly the first man to walk on the moon, but there's a lot of buzz on the internet and everything how the moon landing was faked. Does anybody really believe that the moon landing was fake?
Isn't there a film called Capricorn 1 that's about that? I think OJ. I think OJ Simpson was in Capricorn 1.
Well, there you go.
Hey, Billy, we'll see you again soon, man. I appreciate the call.
Can't wait till next week, man.
Yeah, Capricorn 1. I believe OJ Simpson was in that. Can you look that up really quick, James? OJ Simpson was Chris Christopherson in Capricorn 1. I believe that to be the case.
Let's see here. Capricorn 1.
Let me make sure that I know what I'm talking about. Go ahead, James.
O.J. Simpson is in it, with also Elliot Gould,
James
Brolin, Brenda
Vaccaro,
Brenda Vaccaro, Sam Watterson, Hal Holbrook, David Huddleston, David Doyle, Karen Black, and Telly Savalas, yes.
Wow. Did you say David Doyle?
David Doyle, yeah.
Charlie's Angels, I believe. Yeah. That's an all-star cast right there.
Yeah.
So I was wrong. There's no Chris Christopherson is not in Capricorn 1. But he was in Convoy.
I am not seeing. No, I'm not seeing him in.
Have you not seen Convoy?
No, I have not. Man, I know the song.
Y'all will love the song. This is a true story. I know we got to hit a break here. We got Matt at the top of the hour. I was the best man from my man Mike Busey and Nikki. Now Busey, formerly known as Sims, back in the 90s in Bloomington, was the best man. And I got really hammered, and they wanted to hear Van Morrison's Moon Dance as their first dance song. So I got up there, and I thought it would be funny to play Convoy instead. Mike's dad didn't agree.
Didn't go down well?
So, yeah. That was one of those moments where those of you that say, you are kind of a horse's ass. That's one of those moments where somebody would have backed you up on that.
Has anybody ever asked you to be a best man since that incident?
I've been best man twice.
Really?
Both in the 90s. Oh. Yep. My good man Mick Barron and Mike Busey. Best man twice. But I go, man, I don't want to hear this Van Morrison moon dance crap, and I put in Convoy instead.
Did you play Convoy both times?
No, Convoy just once. Because
Okay.
I think this reception was in the convention center in Bloomington, and I was absolutely smashed. And yeah, it was ill advised. I think the only time I was more smashed than that at a wedding was my own in Vegas. So we're comparing the two right there. Some things. Like, I kind of am proud of it now. I wasn't so proud of it then. I am proud of it now. Convoy instead of Moondance. I thought that was a legit substitution. Matt Taylor and I, top of the hour, the Colts Daily Update, making things official are the Colts today. We'll run it down. Haliburton's moment last night, Matt Painter a little bit earlier, Mike DeCourcy, Eddie Gill, and so much more for you. We'll give you a rundown of the scores, and tomorrow is going to be eventful in Hoop as well. Got you covered. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
to him, damn it. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, in honor of James, we got number 9 at 239-1070. You want to go see Pantera? We'll give you also, as an added prize, a photograph of James's Pantera tattoo. 239-1070, number 9, Pantera, along with the picture of James's Pantera tattoo. Where is that? You tramp stamped?
No, it's on right above my left elbow.
Well, right above his left elbow. Why the elbow? Why did you feel compelled?
I have no idea. I was 19. I had $40, and I decided I wanted a tattoo.
$40 tattoo?
That's where I did it.
Did you spend the entire $40
on the tattoo?
Yeah. Would they have spelled it all out? What happens if you only had $38?
Maybe one slight part of the circle's not filled in. I don't know. This was not a high quality premium artist.
Pantera, number 9 at 239-1070, and the James Pantera elbow tattoo, which, by the way, may end up being worth something one of these days. Because he had to jack around with me for all these years, so it may be worth something one of these days. Pantera elbow tattoo.
What, like skin my arm and then frame it or something?
Yeah, just get a picture. Like sign it, James. Be nice. So they have mosh pits at Pantera?
Oh yeah.
Man. What is the percentage of dudes? Are there any chicks at Pantera?
There are some, but it's probably about 90-95% guys.
Man. That absolutely sounds... I better not even say a word. I'm not saying a word.
Being a metalhead does not make you a chick magnet, just to be clear.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think? You think there's more chicks at a Pantera show or back in the 1990s at the Pike Fraternity Party in Terre Haute at Indiana State?
Probably more.
No, they didn't have any chicks there either.
I'd say there's probably more chicks at the party.
That's why they said, hey, can you come DJ our party because we suck at getting chicks here? I go, yeah, I'm coming. I'm the Pied Piper of getting chicks. Now, none of them like me, but they know where I'm going. That's where the party's happening. So Pantera, maybe just a little less than the Pike Party of the 90s.
I would say, yeah.
I don't know, maybe things have changed for the Pike Fraternity. Let me tell you this. You know this to be true. Indiana Staters back in the 1990s, you guys threw all these parties, and it was a huge Boy Scout meeting, and it's not my fault. That's why you guys hired me. Me, Matt Taylor, on the other side. Hey, let me know where you're going to be tomorrow morning, too. We'll, for IU in Oregon before the afternoon session starts. Maybe we'll have a cocktail before that game tomorrow. I'll see a lot of you there. Matt and I converse about what's going on with the Colts in free agency. That is the Colts Daily Update next. Matt Painter, 1075thefan.com, and a podcast, too.